and it connects more directly with the mainline story. And Zero is still important, especially for Rebecca Chambers and the early Umbrella lore. But I think Code Veronica is the game that most fans are asking for right now. While M2 did a fantastic job with the Resident Evil 4
as long as they don't change it too much, I don't think fans will have a problem with it. If they change it a lot, then there's going to be some issues.
Remake DLC separate ways, Resident Evil 3 Remake was kind of a letdown. While it was a great game, it wasn't a good remake, and Code Veronica and Zero need that attention and respect that Dev 1 has proven. Well,
they need to do it just like they did 2 and 4 when they didn't really take anything. They simply added to it. If you're going to take something, you take that thing and reshape it and put it back in. That's what 2 did specifically. It didn't really change anything so much as is some things they kind of swapped around, but it didn't take anything. With Resident Evil 3 Remake, they just omitted so much from that game that fans remember from the original, hey, why is this not in here? Why is this from the original not in here? And particularly the whole issue thing with the worm when you're in the graveyard, the cemetery, that whole part is completely omitted. There might be a reference, but there is no actual cemetery. So anyway, like I said, they're gonna have they have all these collections and shit, and so they're gonna have like a wall. We make some originals. I'm talking about collectors now.
because Code Veronica needs to be handled carefully. This is not a game you can just rush out. There are a lot of things that would need to be modernized, but at the same time, Capcom has to preserve the weird gothic, isolated, almost dreamlike tone of the original. Now let's move into the REX engine.
Yeah, because you cannot like omit that game had like a very dark feeling to it, almost a lonely feeling to it. Every time I play Code Veronica, I feel like I just kind of want to get it over with because I don't like the dread I experience from playing that game. I feel like I experienced a lot of dread because it seems very dreadful to have Claire Redfield stuck in that particular part of Europe, and you could tell like it has a depressing feel to it. It looks depressing to be stuck in that prison and shit, and you don't have access to a whole lot of ammo. You have to be very careful. Code Veronica was the very first Resident Evil game where you had to be careful with your ammo. At least as Claire, you had to conserve your ammo as Claire, at least. So, when you compare this to Requiem, you have Grace and Leon. With Grace, you have to be careful with your ammo until you get unlimited ammo, that is. And that's one thing they need to do with Code Veronica Remake. I will recommend make an option for unlimited ammo. After you beat the game, of course. First beat the game, then have an option to unlock. Well, you have to buy it with points. Make it unlockable, then unlock it with points. Just like you did with Requiem and just like we did with 4. Do that. That way fans can experience it again, but use whatever fucking gun they want and without having to worry about ammo. So it makes it more, because that just adds replay value to it. Replay value. That's what makes Resident Evil so likable now, is the replay value. That's the thing about 4, 5, never mind the mercenary mode and all that extra stuff. The replay value is being able to upgrade your weapons, which is not going to add to Resident Evil Code Veronica, admittedly, and having unlimited ammo as an option. As an option, you don't have to use it necessarily. Although if you're going to have infinite rocket launcher, on Requiem you definitely do want to have that enabled, because if you lest you lose your actual rocket launcher, and you got to go back on the save just to get the rocket launcher again and enable that. I had to do that. But yeah, have unlimited ammo for it is my recommendation. Of course, after you play the game and after you get enough points to unlock it, we'll make it unlockable and then finally unlockable points. But yeah, because Code Veronica doesn't really have a whole lot of replay value in and of itself like 4 does, because there's nothing really upgradable. The same thing with its little battle game, which is its mercenaries mode, if you will. It was admittedly not as fun as 4 mercenaries or 5 mercenaries, because it doesn't feel really like it's so much fun. Even though I personally have fun with it, but I could understand why people would not say it's as fun. It's probably the least favorite of the mercenary modes, and I put that in quotes because it's really called battle game, but you know it's the closest thing you'll get to a mercenary modes. Hell, I remember playing the hell out of Resident Evil Revelations 2 mercenary mode. They called it something else, but you know.
Another interesting part of the leak is that some of these upcoming Resident Evil projects are supposedly being developed in the new REX engine. If true, this could mean Code Veronica will be part of Capcom's next technical step forward.
They all are. Not some of them, all of them are.
Better character models, more detailed environments, and possibly larger, more seamless areas. And for a game like Code Veronica, that could be huge. Imagine
Huge, so fucking huge. Because the thing about it is, ever since number 7, they just started using RE engine for everything. That's Capcom's, you know, like this Resident Evil engine. And you know, with the whole GeForce NVIDIA GATX thing, we're trying to make it AI based models for these characters to make Grace and Leon look almost human. But that doesn't come out till like around September of this year, of September 2026, when they're trying to make the characters like Leon here look very human.
Rockford Island, the prison, the Ashford Mansion, the Antarctic base, all rebuilt with modern Resident Evil visuals. If it's anything like Resident Evil Requiem, it will look incredible, and it'll be awesome to revisit these areas. Now into one of the biggest parts of this.
Every one of these. This is what I'm talking about. Look at this shit. Look. All of this is going to be made. This is AI doing this. AI, look. That Billy looks terrible. I'm sorry. That does not even look like Billy. That looks like Chris. Like, look at this shit. Resident Evil Zero Remake in the middle. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the other screen. It looks like Chris with his hair combed back in a different way. Resident Evil. Is that 10? With Cleo? Fuck me, man. Obviously it's Cleo because she's the only one that wears a red jacket. Never mind this. This is not red, and this looks like Ada Wong, not Grace. This looks like Ada Wong got this. Oh, come on. Oh, DOC. Don't tell me. What the fuck? Is Ada Wong gonna have gray hair now? That probably is a red jacket then. If it's Ada Wong, it's gonna be a red jacket. My bad. I said Claire's the only one that wears red. No, Ada also. They're the only ones that wear red. Claire and Ada. But Ada didn't even start wearing red until 4. You know, people say she did wear red in the original number 2. AI just makes things look bad sometimes, man. Why are we getting one remake before? Look, here's what they need to do. They need to go ahead and just re-release one Resident Evil 1 remake. No, scratch that. Release 0 remake, then 1 remake, then Code Veronica remake. Stop doing it this backwards bullshit, man, because I don't want to play Code Veronica remake and play 0 remake and then play 1 remake, because people that are not fans of this, if they start playing this, their very first set of Resident Evil games, they're going to be very confused. Which one is the first one that we play? Or it'll be Resident Evil 1. But that remake doesn't come out. Wait. You mean to tell me that I have to play this first or this later? I mean, you know, you could point them to the 2001 remake for GameCube, but still, that's not the same because they're going to have to go back and play that one. So why are they releasing them like this? Just release them at the same way they released the originals. You had I mean, you can do 0 and 1 at the same time, actually, because they're both kind of so together. You know, they're like literally a week apart, the events. Like, Rebecca arrives there maybe a few days before Jill and Chris arrive. So it's like days apart, not even a week apart, but days apart. You can do 0 and 1 at the same fucking... Matter of fact, you should release 0 and 1 as part of one package. Call that they had a name for it on the Xbox. I remember when you would buy it, you could actually bundle... No, it's on Steam. You could bundle them together. I think it's called something like the... something of evil, Emotions of Evil, meaning that you get to have 0 and 1 as one package. Just look it up on Steam. Anyway, they can release 0 and 1 at the same time. Then we can get Code Veronica remake. And then after that, last but not least, we should just get Resident Evil X I mean, I think that's doable. And Resident Evil X can come out in 2030 if they wanted to. Every game needs its time, but still.
Video, the release timeline. When could this actually release? According to the speculation, if Code Veronica Remake gets revealed at Summer Game Fest 2026, which is early June, then we could possibly see the game release in early 2027. That would line up with how Capcom usually markets Resident Evil. They reveal the game, show more at events like Gamescom or Tokyo Game Show, then start pushing the marketing hard before releasing in the first quarter of the following year. Again, this is only speculation, but if Code Veronica really is next in line, a 2026 reveal and a 2027 release does not sound impossible. I know I'm going to keep my eyes locked on Summer Game Fest and we'll be streaming it live, so hopefully you join us for that. Now let's move into the Resident Evil 10 details. The leak claims that Claire Redfield could return as the main protagonist in Resident Evil 10. If this is true, Capcom may be setting Claire up for a bigger role again. They've done this with Leon in the past, with Resident Evil 4 Remake, leading into Resident Evil Requiem.
Okay, I don't care what anybody says. I did not ask for a Resident Evil 1 remake. I asked for Code Veronica remake and Zero remake, but I would be satisfied with just a Code Veronica remake. I wouldn't even be upset if they chose not to remake Zero, despite the unnecessary hate for Zero. Its hate is very unnecessary. Zero's story is very necessary to understand 1. Very necessary, in fact, because you don't know who the fuck Rebecca Chamber is until Zero. Yeah, you hear about her. Chris walks with her a little bit, but you don't know who she is. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who she is until Zero. So, fans can stop hating on Zero just because they don't have an item box. It's the only game that's very unique to the point where you can actually drop items within the room, because let's face facts, that's more realistic, right? If you really wander around with guns and shit and ammunition, you're not gonna find a random item box. In reality, you would just drop shit on the ground and then remember which room you picked it up in. That's more realistic. You know, like if you find the grappling hook and you can't carry it, realistically speaking, you would drop it in a room. You'd hide it behind a shelf or something, or somewhere you remember where it was in case you needed it. Just in case. You probably sure you don't need it, but like just in case I need this later on, I will put it right behind this bookshelf or right behind this desk so that I know exactly where it is. That's the point of it. Forget the item box. In that one game, and people are mad about that because they don't have an item box that's synchronized across locations. And I say synchronized across locations because in Resident Evil, the 2001 remake, there's a mode you can have where the item boxes are not synchronized. So that means you have to remember exactly where you put what item. If you left your Magnum handgun in one item box on the second floor, you have to go to that exact same room on the second floor to get to that exact same item box to get that exact same weapon. You can't find it in the item box downstairs in the basement level because they're not synchronized across locations. Like is the default that's a certain harder difficulty that has that setting to where you have to remember exactly where you put exactly which item box, not necessarily the item box, but the save room. Because all item boxes are always located in the save rooms. They always put a save room with an item box, but you have to remember where you put which item. But with the standard default setting of item boxes being synchronized across locations, you don't have to worry about that. You can put the Magnum handgun in one upstairs, and it's available in the item box and down in the basement. That's just how it default works. But that's not realistic. With Zero, they were realistic about it. Because you have to drop items in certain locations just to make room to get other items, and you have to remember where you put your stuff. That's just, I remember me having to put the grenade launcher, and I always put the grenade launcher in the main hallway, because I kept going back and forth to the main hallway, not only to save, but to just get items. So I put important items like ink ribbons, because if I'm going to save in the main hallway, I might as well put a set of ink ribbons, at least a set, like 3, in the hallway. So if I always put the ink ribbons near the typewriter, I didn't have to carry it. Because if I'm going to go back and save it, at least I can drop one item, then pick up the equipment, save it, then drop the equipment, then pick up that other item. That's how I did it. And that's how they want you to do it. You know, you don't need an item box. It's very doable. So I don't understand why people hate Zero, but what I'm saying is that just make a remake of Code Veronica, I'll be satisfied. And since they're going to do Zero, go ahead and do Zero. But we really don't need a remake for number one. I mean, if they choose to do it, fine. But here's what I'm saying. Stop with that. After one remake, don't do any more remakes. Done. We don't need a number 5 remake. Because if you say we need a number 5 remake, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, remake 6. And then if I say that, they're going to remake 7, and remake 8, and then remake 9. You get what I'm saying? So a decade from now, we're going to see a remake of 9. When we just got this game a few months ago. A couple of months ago. Actually, I think it was last month. Yes, it was. It was in April. It's May. About a month ago we got this. We don't need a remake of every fucking game. Just stop after one.
No, Jill fans are dying inside right now, and I feel for you. Now let's move into the Resident Evil 1 remake. The rumor also claims that Capcom may be planning another remake of the original Resident Evil. According to the leak, Resident Evil 1 is supposedly being developed under the working title Project Fallen. This one is interesting because Resident Evil 1 already has one of the most beloved remakes of all time. The 2002 remake is still considered by many fans to be one of the best survival horror games ever made. So if Capcom is really looking to go back to the Spencer Mansion again, they have to be very careful with it. You can modernize the gameplay, update the visuals, and make the mansion feel more alive, but you can't lose the atmosphere, the music, the fixed tension, and that feeling of being trapped inside this mysterious mansion. That is what made
Basically, don't fuck it up like the movies did.
Resident Evil 1 so special. At the same time, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't want to see the Spencer Mansion fully rebuilt in the REX engine with modern visuals and today's technology.
But here's the thing about remakes. Modern technology, modern visuals in today's technology. That means a entire decade from now, you know, we're going to want another remake with that decade's modern technology and you know what I'm saying? So are they going to remake this whole set of Resident games every decade? You know? You get what I'm saying? Like, cause if you're going to remake... I'm going to go to first screen here for a second. If you're going to remake Resident Evil, then remake Final Fantasies and every game. That's never create anything original. You know what I'm saying? Just at some point you do have to stop. You gotta be like, okay, that this is the breaks into this, because just like Dakota Johnson said, all I see are remakes, nothing original.
Capcom could pull it off without losing the soul of the original, this could be huge. And next up we have the Resident Evil Requiem DLC. This leak
It could be huge, so huge.
also brings up possible story DLC for Resident Evil Requiem. According to the rumor, there could be 2 separate story DLCs planned. One would supposedly feature Alyssa and Leon, while the other featured Chris and Ada. On top of that, there is also supposedly another mode or minigame being planned, similar to Leon Must Die Forever. Alright guys.
Yeah, I think the one with Alyssa Ashcroft will be interesting because, you know, files it says that she was followed by the guy that killed her eventually. The guy that she shot with a gun, you know. He was following her around. You see that in the files. I think that'd be an interesting little side story, little DLC. But we already got. We don't need shit with Leon. Look, he's got everything he needs. He's got the DLC Leon Must Die. You know, make one with Grace or something, man. I don't know what they could do with Grace, but like, why do we need Ada every time we have Leon? Why? Just be reminiscent of two, not 4, but 2. Because there are only 2 sets of Leon and Ada games. So it's Resident Evil 2 and then Resident Evil 4. Of course, you have Resident Evil Damnation, which, you know, Ada's in that movie. But in the Resident Evil Degeneration, it's only Leon and Cleo. Ada's not even present, and Ada is only in one movie. Didn't you have, you know, Resident Evil Vendetta with Chris, Rebecca, Leon. That's it. And then you have Resident Evil Death Island sit here in the city of San Francisco where I'm located. You got Chris, Rebecca, Leon, and Cleo. Yeah, you could have thrown Ada in it, I guess, but you don't need Ada in everything. That's what makes her so valuable, is that when you finally include her in something. Just go ahead and create a Resident Evil with Ada in it. Just give Ada her own Resident Evil game. Damn the DLC, just give her a fucking whole game. Why not, right? One of her most recent missions, you know, she gets contracted to find this new virus or whatever, and, you know, and if you do, don't put Leon in it, because you don't need them together and everything. Just make those stories separate. And then later on, make another game with both of them in it. You don't have to have each and every character in every single game. You know, that's what makes them so valuable, is that, because like, Cleo is in Revelations 2, right, with Nora, who's Barry Bolton's daughter. You don't need Leon in that. That's Cleo's another story. Just like Code Veronica, you didn't need Leon. You just had Chris. Chris wasn't even in Revelation 2. And then in Revelation, the first one, you had Chris, and you had Jill and Parker first. Then Chris came in, you know. But you didn't have Barry in it. You didn't have anybody else from in that. That was their thing. You know, you don't need, if they make a Revelation 3 and they have that with, I don't know, that would be probably Ada. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know, have what's her name, Grace, meet another character. You know, have her meet Ashley. Have her and Ashley. I love to see a game with Ashley in it. If you want to, you can have Ashley put in the game with Ada and have it like something similar. Make that Revelation 3. You know, kind of like you had Cleo and Nora Bolton. Now you got Ada Wong and, well, now you had Claire Redfield and Nora Bolton. Now you got Ada Wong and Ashley Graham. You know what I'm saying? It's so many ways you can do it, but you don't have to include everybody in one package. Maybe make that the final game, the final Resident Evil game.
That wraps up the latest rumors and leaks. If I had to speak on behalf of the validity of these, and again, I know nothing, but I do believe that Code Veronica Remake and Zero Remake are being developed. I know Capcom is working on DLC, but I don't think it's going to be Alyssa and Leon and Chris and Ada. I do, however, believe...
Look, we know that they're being developed. Let's stop bullshitting. We know that they're being developed. Everybody knows. Come on. It was rumors that 2 was being remade, and same thing with 3, the same thing with 4. They were rumors. They start off as rumors. Sorry about my fan in the background. This Blue Yeti is a very sensitive mic. Very sensitive, in fact. But they always start off as rumors, and then they become official. We don't need validation. We know at this point. That's the trend. That's the pattern. Starts off as rumors. We hold this. We hold this. We believe this. But now we know. That's because you knew from the beginning. Just stop bullshit with that. It was not a rumor, dude. We know it already. They're doing it. Everybody thinks so. The internet, like people say, it's not private anymore. Shit is leaked. You know? I'm very particular about how people speak on the internet. When they say, oh, these are rumors, not bullshit. They're not rumors, they're facts. Come on, man. Quit playing. Anyway, that's about all I have. That image is still fucking scary. I just wanted to show that to kind of test my system here. You know, but also, I thought that was a good video by, the Residents of Evil. I will try to remember to include this video so that I give them credit so they don't get me with a copyright violation. Anyway, yeah, so thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.